Hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Shelly Fernandez. This is my YouTube channel where I sew things. And today we are sewing this cute bubble shirt. And let's just get right into making this up because last week I made that drop waist polka dotted skirt and that was super cute and I wanted to keep that going. I actually made a pattern for the shirt as well as for the skirt. I have it on my Etsy, which I'll have in the link in the description. But yeah, so if you want to make that down there. But let's get into the materials, what you need. So for me, I used just two different fabrics, just one that's like a solid color and then a plaid. To switch it up a little bit, I like the contrast fabric. For the top part, you would need like a yard of fabric, and for the gathered part for the shirt, I think you would need like a yard and a half to 2 yards, depending on how full you want it to look. And then you would need a zipper and thread, and that's about it. So we're gonna work on the top first. We have the pattern. We're gonna put that down, pin all of that around, making sure that fabric is folded in half so you have 2 of each pattern piece, and we're going to cut that out, making sure you also cut the notches so we know how to sew it when it's time to sew everything. Yeah, we're going to do that for the main fabric, and then we're also going to do that for the lining. So for me, the fabric I had was super thin, and I knew even if I have 2 together, it would still make it super thin. So I took interfacing, cut that fabric pieces out again for the lining, and then ironed them on. So there was just a bit more structure to the fabric. And it wasn't so thin and flimsy because I knew if I just didn't use the interfacing, I don't think the shirt would last very long. After we cut all the fabric out, sew the interfacing onto the lining, we're gonna go ahead and pin all the pattern pieces together to have a lining and then a main fabric. To keep in mind for the zipper, when you pin the main fabric, just note with the lining, you're gonna have to do opposite of how you pin it because the lining is gonna be on the inside, so it's gonna be reversed. And we're gonna sew that all up. And I finished my seam allowance with my serger just to give a finished, more neater look. And then once you have that all sewn up, you're gonna take it to the iron and iron out all the seams. And here I'm cutting out the fabric to make the straps. For me, I did it manually, but you guys have a pattern that you could use. We're gonna fold the strip in half and sew down the middle. Trim off the excess super close to the stitching. Be careful not to cut the stitching or else it'll ruin the strap. And then you'll take a loop turner if you have one, put it through and loop turn it so it's inside out, so the seam is on the inside. If you don't have a loop turner, the only way you could really do this if you make like bias tape and then sew it down, so you wouldn't have like the seamless look but you would still have straps. And on the pattern piece, there should have been notches on where the strap should be, so you're going to pin the straps to where you cut those notches out, and then go ahead and pin the lining and the main fabric with that. And everything is going to be right sides together whenever you're pinning all of this, and then you're going to go ahead and sew everything up. We're gonna iron the seam allowance that we just sewn towards the lining, because then we're gonna take it to the machine and top stitch that and do an understitch, so whenever you're wearing the shirt, the lining won't come up and you will see it, it will stay down. Then we're gonna get into the gathering part of the shirt. My gathered fabric's gonna look a little bit different because at this point of me making it, I didn't think I wanted it to be a bubble shirt, but I changed that like towards the end. You should have 2 long pieces of fabric. You should have the main fabric that you use and then the lining. Gather both of those up separately. You should turn your stitch length on your machine to the longest length, which is 4 for me. You're just going to stitch the whole way down without back stitching in the beginning and in the end. You're going to do that twice on the fabric, and then you should have enough to pull the string to gather all up. And you should do that for both the main skirt part and the lining. After you have both of the skirts gathered, you're going to make sure it's gathered to where it fits the whole shirt, and then you're going to pin the main gathered fabric to the main and the lining gathered fabric to the lining top, and we're gonna sew that. Okay, so now we're gonna add the zipper in, the main fabric first, and then once you have that sewn on, you're gonna flip the lining over on top and then stitch on top of where you already sewed the zipper onto it. And you're gonna go ahead and take the bottom and the main gathered skirt and stitch those together too, but leaving it open towards the back. So now I have everything flipped inside out and close up that seam that we left open on the skirt. That is everything for today's video. Let me know what you think about this shirt. I think it's super cute, and if you want to also make this, it's down in the description on my Etsy. Yep, but that is it for today's video. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share the video if you would like. Yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.